Sent in a couple of questions about veterans health care, but we want to bring you one from a retired veteran with disabilities who served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Michael asks, what is your position on veteran services and health, and what have you been doing actively to help veterans? Mr. Johnson, we're going to begin with you.
Well, I come from a military family. My mother traveled around the globe. She was the daughter of a military man. And so I have always grown up with stories from Grandpa and from Mom telling me about the importance of being in the United States Army. And it's something that's very important to me. And we, of course, do owe our veterans a lot. I think if there are a couple of things we can do to make sure that we're helping veterans, the first would be make good on the promises we've already made. There are some people who want to dismantle the VA healthcare system. That's a terrible idea. So many parts of the VA, at least the delivery of care, are working pretty well. The bureaucracy is a mess, of course. We can improve that. But one thing we shouldn't do is turn back the promises that we've made to our veterans. Now, a second important thing that I think we can do is be wise and cautious before we put our men and women in uniform in harm's way. We should not be putting boots on the ground unless we have a clear and present danger to American interests. Of course, our world needs American leadership, but we can't afford to be the world's policeman. So part of the question, the tail end, was about what do I actively do to help veterans? And during this campaign, I would bet there hasn't been a day that has gone by that I haven't talked to a South Dakota veteran. The most important thing, I think, as a candidate that you have to remember is that this is a job interview, and it's also an opportunity to learn. So in the same way that I'm there sharing my story with them, I make sure that I allow time for them to share their story with me. And the stories I've heard about the bureaucracy of the VA, or about how terrible it is to come home with wounds that maybe people can't see, but that are just as real as the external scars, have made it very clear to me that taking care of veterans is going to be a top priority for me in Congress.
Can I ask you, how do you improve that bureaucracy?
Well, at some point, when you watch these oversight hearings that Congress does, when they're hauling in VA officials, it seems like so many of their questions are about making a point. I mean, they're pandering to the cameras. And I wonder if it wouldn't be better if they actually turned the cameras off, went into a committee room, sat down, Republicans and Democrats, and just said, okay, exactly what do we need to get done? I mean, is it more money in this area? Can we save money here and shift it over to getting better qualified nurses who understand PTSD? I mean, I'm no expert on the VA delivery system, but I would tell you, I think our politicians can talk a great game about veterans, but so often these things continue to come down to partisan votes. We have got to be better than that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Bjorkman, question goes to you. Your thoughts on veteran health care and maybe ways to improve it.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Well, as I mentioned, 3 of our sons served in the Iraqi war era, and you know, our family, like hundreds of thousands of South Dakotans, understand the high price that our soldiers pay and that the war doesn't end when they get home. So I want to just talk about 3 things that we need to improve, in my view. First is, we have disability claims that can can take up to 7 years to resolve. That is terrible. These men and women who've served us have their lives on hold while their case is going through the bureaucracy. So I will fight for fast case treatment, more administrative law judges. That's the first thing, to get the cases addressed quicker. Second thing, veterans caregivers benefits. We have them for post 9/11 veterans. If you become paralyzed, for example, taking a bullet for a fellow soldier, whatever the case may be, post 9/11 veterans actually get benefits for that caregiver who's giving up a job often to provide care. But pre-9/11 veterans have never had that. And that's just an injustice I've been writing and talking about since I got into this race. Now, there was a bill to authorize pre-9/11 caregivers benefits, but it hasn't been fully funded yet. We need to get that funded. I'll fight for that justice for veterans. The third thing is that the Veterans Choice Program has a lot of problems with it. We've been to veterans service offices and talked to veterans all across the state, and we've heard complaints that the VA in many cases, didn't pay for treatment like eye exams and so on, and so the veteran didn't get his eyeglasses, or she didn't get treatment for her mental health issue. That's just an abomination, and so I'll be an advocate to fight for that. Those are three big things I think we can do better.
Mr. Johnson, you have something to add?
Well, yeah, and I think an incredibly important obligation that falls to a member of the South Dakota delegation is taking care of Hot Springs. I mean, anybody who has ever been to Hot Springs has seen how that community rallies around that VA facility. It is, and this is no exaggeration, one of the globe's best treatment areas for PTSD. And it's excellent at all kinds of behavioral health issues. Now, we have had some within the VA who have been trying to shut down that facility for years. The outcomes out of the Hot Springs facility are too good. It is a fantastic place for our veterans to go and heal. I think our delegation has done an excellent job of making sure the VA makes the right decision rather than the wrong decision, and I will fight like heck to continue to have that be the case.
Mr. Bjorkman.
Yeah, I'm a strong advocate for the VA remaining intact in Hot Springs. It's not only that it's a great treatment facility, it can be expanded fully to staff dual diagnosis treatment, and there's a huge need for it in that geographic area. And it also serves our natives. People have moved to the Hot Springs area over the decades specifically for VA care. We need to honor the commitments we've made to them and keep that in place. Plus, Hot Springs is such a beautiful therapeutic place, a great place to heal.
All right, thank you very much.